Ladies and gentlemen, Bernardo Letayf.
Hey, hello guys. It's great to be here. Thanks to Gamification Group to have me over here again. I'm super excited. What I want to talk to you today is a little bit about my story and a little bit of the teachings I learned in my journey from becoming a player into a professional. The very first question I have for you is, are there any geeks in the room? But yeah, I can see some. Okay, so for those of you who are actually geeks, let me see. I challenge you to beat my score at the geek test. That's been up since 1999, and my current score is 74.9%. So yes, I am actually quite a geek. But as a great geek, for me, my story involved in the actual practice of gamification comes down to 2004 when I started playing Final Fantasy XI. You may not know this game that much because it was overshadowed by World of Warcraft when they had 7.5 million players and we just had 500,000. So I love Final Fantasy since I was very young. And the very first thing I did when I got into the game was ask another player, hey, are there any legendary heroes here, legendary players who have solved everything and cannot be beaten and everything? And they were like, well, that's not the kind of game you're into, but here, well, I don't know about legendary players, but I know about guild sellers. So I was asking about something, and I got a completely different answer that introduced me to a world that was impacting the real world from the virtual world. What you're looking at is a screenshot of a website that sells gold, which is the currency in World of Warcraft, to players. So already in 2004, there was something happening in the virtual environment that was already impacting people on the outside. There's even a game in China that where people would play it. It was something around 200 million players online, and they would exchange the currency within the virtual world for real goods. So I didn't know any of this, but if you pay attention, it's treated as currency. You can see how much gold actually costs in US dollars. So there was a value to it. For me, this was the origin of microtransactions. And this may seem like a very random slide, but it just shows the power of microtransactions throughout the world. Candy Crush presenting a modest $1.3 billion revenue just from players paying for each attempt they wanted to go through the game. And if you haven't noticed, it looks very weird, right? It's pretty much like the arcades. In the arcades, we used to pay for each attempt. We would have to move ourselves to another place, take out our quarters, and pay for it. And Candy Crush actually offers you a bargain on that because there you would have to pay 4 quarters, so that would be 4 attempts per $1. And I think Candy Crush offers you 5 attempts per $1. So our new arcade is in a completely different level, in a completely different environment. And it's already connected to our credit cards, and you can lose control pretty easily. But this is what I saw that was being born in 2004. This is what started flowing with the connection of technology and the boom of Facebook. However, coming back to my story a little bit, in 2010, I was introduced to the name and the word gamification. And a student told me, this is how you will solve education. 40 minutes later, I had already watched a video that some of us have watched, and well, at least in my case, I hold it very dear in my heart. The video featured a person talking about magic words and superpowers and how the opposite of what I saw Final Fantasy was doing to the world, it was doing, the world was doing the exact opposite. So instead of having the virtual world impacting the real world wanted to look more like the virtual world. Jane McGonigal has talked about it for a while. I also watched her video, which I watched after this one. And for some of us, these magic words are actually powerful. I am not kidding to you. I had my students leave the room after I finished watching the video, and I stood up in the middle of everywhere, and I said, I am a game designer. Because in that very moment, I made the choice that I wanted to be a game designer. For a very long time, I had no idea how would you become one. There were no universities offering a course like that in Mexico. I had no idea what you should study. If it was programming, design, art, literature, what would you study to become a game designer? He told me that you just should do this and start designing games. That sounds easy, right? So I stood up and I said, I am a game designer. And the next second, okay, how do I do this for a living? So yeah, I'm a teacher, I need to pay the rent, I have to eat, you know how I have to eat every day and everything. But now that I am a game designer, because I just became one, right, how do I get from there? And the line was drawn, and it is a line that's, I don't know, the consistency of the line is very weird. Because for some people, it's about the level of skill you have. So if you're very good at it, you may be a professional. Or for other people would be, it depends where you're talking or what you're doing, and it depends on the stage. For me, the line between being a player and a professional is made of one word. You have to do this every day. Breathe it every day, and work around it every day. If you're able to do it every single day of your life, then you're being a professional about it. You may be a low-level professional, or you may be a high-skilled world international professional, but still a professional. So I really wanted to become one. And I realized it was a choice. It was not just about what you've studied. It was not just about who you've talked to, what your clients were, how much you were paid about. It was about you actually taking this seriously. And in my case, I decided I would defend this industry, and I would work to make it better every single time I could. So I would like to share with you 5 teachings that are incredibly in line with what we've been listening for the whole day. And I was super glad when I was watching one of the talks, and they were talking about exactly some of the slides I'm gonna share with you. The first thing is you have to bring something for the client. Stop selling air. Stop promising the world. Stop coming around and, yeah, this is the best solution ever. You have to have something they can touch. If the clients cannot touch it, they won't do anything about it. They don't have imagination, and I'm sorry, we can thank the educational system for that. But that's a reality. So unless you're able to show them something, don't go to that meeting. The second part is spare at least 10% of your time for testing. You have no idea how many clients I lost because Blue Rabbit wasn't tested enough, and then you would click at some link and it would break down. It would fill my heart with pain. You have to test it at least for 10% of the time. So if you have 7 days, leave at least 1 day and 4 hours to make sure you're testing and seeing what this, your system is, your proposal is, or everything. Test it at least yourself for 10% of the time. Another thing I learned is the more you know, the better. The more information that's in your head, the better for everybody. And this will mean experience. This could mean knowing a lot of theory. This could mean many games that you played, bad games, good games, best sellers. I don't care. Make sure that in your head there's as much information as possible, because you will be faced with absolutely every other question you've ever made. But the other thing is that you not only need to research yourself, you do not only need to fill your head with information, you also have to know who you are doing this for. And in the words of one of the best, well, my favorite neuroscientist, Andrea Kuchevsky, if you're not spending the majority of your time at the beginning of each project identifying what motivates your audience, you are doing it wrong. So this takes me to my next point, which means put your players, well, put the players over your ego every time. Make sure that it doesn't matter who the client is. Tell them that the solution you're offering is for the players, and it has to solve something. It doesn't have to be shiny. Many of us think that it always has to involve great technology and virtual reality. Maybe it is a sign on the bathroom that will solve the problem, all right? So make sure that you're designing for the players over anyone's ego. You are the hero of this story. You are the ones who are supposed to take those players from, I don't know, unengaging experiences, unengaging classes, unengaging companies, or I don't know. They're just sad, they're just having the worst time of their lives, and then maybe your solution will do that. So you are going to save them from that. Put yourself in the position of a hero. And also as a hero, you have to be prepared for everything. And being prepared for everything is really not so hard, because the way you are prepared for everything is you rely on your skills, not on the cool, shiny items you have. That means technology, that means all the fancy things that many people will want to throw at it. And gamification is not a problem that you solve just throwing money at it. Gamification is a thing that you solve by actually engaging, seeing what your audience is, offering the right solution, identifying the needs, and finding the right solution for them. And the only way you can do that is that you develop your skills to a level where they cannot be challenged. And that part's really easy. You're already doing one of it. You're starting to listen to everybody here, talking, networking, connecting, paying attention to what everybody else is doing. In terms of my journey, more or less, how did it go for me? It started around 2010, and it started with playing games. And then it went to watching some videos, reading books, meeting authors, attending events, meeting authors, getting the autographs, switching careers. I was a web designer. I decided to become a game designer. Engaging social media, I got into the Gamification Hub, and I started meeting all the other authors pretty much in virtuality. I quit being a teacher. I released Blue Rabbit. Sorry, I started doing this every day, and I released Blue Rabbit. After releasing a project like that, you have to get some clients. I finally did. And then I won an international award last year. And after that, I started working with other pros, which is for me a lifelong dream. The award was amazing, don't get me wrong, but what is even more amazing is the fact that I'm now able to impact the industry with other professionals that I truly admire. This year alone, I was able to work with 3 of them. And now we're working on charting uncharted waters. We don't know what's ahead. No one knows exactly what's ahead. We have some ideas on what the future of gamification will be, and we're working and being prepared for that, developing all of our skills to the best of our abilities. Gamification, becoming a gamification professional for me was about 4 very important things. The very first one is finding a community where I could feel support. The community is incredibly generous with their information. There are some things, and there's a lot of data that we cannot share because of the NDAs, but most of the information that's out there, people will share with you gladly, and they will give you their input, and they will keep it safe. Making big choices, because I had to switch careers. I mean, there's not even a career called gamification anywhere, right? There's a master somewhere and a couple of PhDs because people decided to start doing them. But it was a completely uncharted territory, and I had to decide if I was going to jump into it completely or otherwise don't do it. Improving my skills to the best of my possibilities, going to every single event, meeting everybody I could, and it wasn't really that hard. I got all the books, I started reading online, I just kept on playing games, and then when I was presented with a problem, which was my classroom, I started developing a solution for myself for the situation I was, and I tried to solve it using gamification. And I decided to change the world through education. So becoming a professional for most of the experts in the audience may have identified that we actually have a name for those. It's all about relatedness, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The more we keep true to what we guys are selling to the industry, the more we move forward with this idea as our flag, the more professionals we will be, and the easier it will be to always face the right way. I heard Gabe Zuckerman say this on the very first webinar I took with him. If you always follow these 4 components, there is absolutely no way you can go wrong. But you have to be honest, and you have to make sure that you are always there. Behave like heroes, and promise me that you will never, ever stop learning. Thank you.
Woohoo! Thank you, man.